church chat. I'm coming on late again, like usual. And today is the 7th Sunday of Ordinary Time. And the reading in the Gospel is from Luke 6:27 to 38. Jesus said to his disciples, "To who hear me, I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you, and pray for those who maltreat you. When someone slaps you on the cheek, turn and give him the other. When someone takes your coat, let him have your shirt as well. Give to all who beg from you. When a man takes what is yours, do not demand it back. Do to others what you would have them done to you. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, how can you claim any credit? Sinners do as much. If you lend to those from whom you expect repayment, what merit is that in it for you? Even sinners lend to sinners, expecting to be repaid in full. Love your enemies and do good. Lend without expecting repayment. Then you will recompense. Be great. You will rightly be called sons of the Most High, since he himself is good to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be compassionate. Blessings, Fatima. Be compassionate as your Father is compassionate. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Pardon, and you shall be pardoned. Give, and it shall be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will they pour into your fold of your garment. For the measure you measure with will be measured back to you." And that was the gospel today on the 7th Sunday of Ordinary Time. And then there was the second reading that was in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 15:45 to 49. Now, there is an interesting parallel to this one in the Gospel of Thomas, and I want to talk a little bit about that. Scripture has it that Adam was the first man, became a living soul. The last Adam has become a life-giving spirit. Notice the spiritual was not first. First came the natural, and after that the spiritual. The first man was of earth, formed from dust. The second is from heaven. So Jesus is from heaven, and we are from the earth. Earthly men are like the man of earth. Heavenly men are like men of heaven. Just as we resemble the man from heaven, so shall we bear the likeness of the man from heaven. And so that is from Corinthians. And so it's a sense that the body came first and then the spirit. However, welcome, Bluefoot. However, in the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus talks about the fact that the spirit came first and then the form came. The spirit came first and then the form. Let me see if I can even find that. I don't know if I can find that in a timely manner, but that is what the Gospel of Thomas says. Now, in the Gospel of Thomas, I've read through the whole thing. And the Gospel of Thomas does not have the equivalent of the love your enemies speech the sermon that Jesus gives in the Gospel of Luke, and I think it's also in the Gospel of Matthew about the loving your enemies. And that, but that is a really a good lesson. Gospel of Thomas, Blue Slim, is one of the books that the church threw out. So in the between the 3rd and the 4th century, the canon of the Bible was sort of set, and then it was revisited in after the invention of the printing press. And so for over 1,000 years, Busy Slim, the Bible had more books in it. It had more books in it up until the Reformation. And okay, all right, I get you. Welcome, Roots and Waves. So the canon was still in flux. This is a book. There were a number of gospels that were found about 100 years ago in Nag Hammadi, Egypt, or in the in the Dead Sea region, and they were and so the Gospel of Thomas is one of the gospels that was found in about 100 years ago in the 1920s in Egypt, and it was one of the most complete gospels, early gospels that was found, and it was written probably around 150 and 150, and so a lot of the Gospel of Thomas may predate the Gospel of Mark and Luke and so forth. And so it's a collection of sayings, and there's a lot of saying. And so I'm in my channel, I am going to be I guess I'm going to be reading from the Gospel of Thomas, because I believe that it may be the first one. And whereas the other ones came later, and they reflect, and there's a more of a reflection of the church institutional in it. And so the church institutional came into being essentially between 321 and 380. In the canon as you know it, the biblical canon as you know it, at that time it had the 72 books of the Septuagint plus the what you see in the King James Bible and what's in the King James Bible, but and those in the New Testament, in most of those New Testament books, but it had a lot of other books like Maccabeans and so forth in it. And so the modern day church canon that has of the modern day church is the Ethiopian church has the most amount of books in it. That is that has more books than any other in any other church Bible that exists. But however, the Gospel of Thomas is not in any of those. But there are many gospel equivalencies that exist in this. And so I'm going to read to you in your Love Thy Enemies list, there is not a Gospel of Thomas equivalent, but there is an equivalent to that whole speck in your eye and the beam in your eye. So I'll read what is close in there, and I'll do some more other readings from it. And so saying number 26, Jesus said, "You see the speck that is in your companion's eye, but you do not see the beam that is in your own eye. When you take the beam out of your own eye, then you will see well enough to take the speck out of your companion's eye. If you do not fast from the world, you will not find the kingdom. If you do not keep the Sabbath, you will not see the Father. Jesus said, I took my stand in the middle of the world, and in the flesh I appeared to people. I found them all drunk, and did not find any of them thirsty. My soul ached for these human children because they are blind of heart and do not see, that they came into the world empty, and that they also seek to depart from the world empty. But now they are drunk. When they become sober, they will repent. In saying 29, Jesus said, if the flesh came into being because of the Spirit, it is amazing. But if the Spirit came into being because of the body, it is even more amazing. I am amazed, though, at how such great wealth has settled into such poverty. And so, in that sense, that was the counter to that reading that I did in from the seventh Sunday of Ordinary Time of the Corinthians, where Paul says that the body came first and then the Spirit came later. And so, but if you, but then of course in this gospel Jesus says that the Spirit came first and then the body came. So in that the template came first. The template came into being first. That God existed before the physical universe existed, and then the physical universe came into being. Now, I wanted to say something about that whole turn the other cheek thing, and this is something I remember from when I was in theology school, when I was studying the Bible and theology at a Quaker university, and they talked about this is because Quakers are, at least this portion of it, these Quakers were more focused on social justice and the social justice aspect of Jesus's teaching, rather than like the exclusionary aspects of to take a inclusionary approach rather than an exclusionary approach. And so a lot of the Christian world today is about excluding people from your body that are not of you. It's a exclusionary religion. However, that is not necessarily what the Gospels teach. That's not necessarily what the Gospels teach. I think that is being a door that excludes. That is not a Jesus teaching. And so when we take the turn the other cheek and how you behave in the world, that you love your enemies, and in order to love your enemies, you have to do a lot of self-reflection. And it is a spiritual exercise to do this. And so when you look at those people who you do not like, when you look at the people you have, and then if you to self-reflect and to come to a place where you see that this person is no different from you, that takes a great deal of looking into the mirror and being able to look honestly at yourself. Looking honestly at yourself. And so that is that's kind of the lesson of that, as I see, from a more of a spiritual viewpoint, in that lesson of where you want to come into a transformative state, where you want to be born again of spirit and have your bodies, your being that ego death, and if you want to call it that. I don't know if I really like that language, but you have a transformation of in your spiritual life. And so in order to see your enemy, so that would be as an example that you notice, once you can silence those negative voices, those lower vibration energies, the anger and the fear, once you can silence those voices and you look at people who you don't like, and you'll see that there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of things about them that is similar to you. I was like thinking of a statement that was made by Number 45 after Charlottesville, and that was the Tiki Torch thing, the white supremacist march, and then where the Number 45 came out and said that there are good people on both sides, that there's good on both sides. And of course, a lot of the people on the left said that you can't say that, but I saw in the left and the right a spirit of keep away. You are nothing like me. I am nothing like you. You stay over there and we'll be over here. And so that if we look at in the United States, that political divide that exists, that over there, you're over there, I'm over here. There is no good over there. I am good here. You're not good. And that other side is saying, I'm good and you're not good. But what I'm not excusing the racism and anything else, but what I am talking about is that those people are those are your enemies, you need to really do the soul searching and look at those people, look at your enemies, and see, is there anything in your behavior that is exactly the same as that? It may not be I'm hating on that person because I don't like the color of their skin, but I may be hating on that person because of some other thing, because of their political beliefs or their religious beliefs, or I'm hating them because of something they like or dislike. And then once you start looking at yourself and say, why is it that I don't like this person? Why do I not like that person? And if you really are honest, you might just see you might see yourself reflected in them, and then that just makes it hard. So that makes it just harder to hate that individual, because you also have these strong emotions. You are afraid, you are angry, and you also hate them. They hate you, you hate them. And so that kind of makes you the same. You are in union with one another in your hatred for one another. And so Jesus says in Luke, you're not to behave that way. That's not how you're supposed to behave. You are to love your enemies and give respect those who disrespect you. And then so if somebody slaps you on the cheek, you need to turn your cheek and accept the backhand, because when A person slaps this way, if they are going to slap the other way, they're going to slap you with your backhand, and that's going to be with a hell of a lot more force. And if that person hits you with that force from that backhand, they will see, or they may see, if they are self-aware enough, they may see that they treated you in an unjust manner. And so in the social justice aspect of, from a in looking at some of these stories and looking at that, is that I think, as what was told in the theology course Bible class that I took years ago. This is in the 90s, and so I'm just going off of things I remember from the 90s. And that the Roman soldiers oftentimes would slap. They would slap their subjects, and they would slap their subjects. But if they turned around and did the backhand and they whack them really hard, sometimes that whack could be hard enough that it could kill a person. And so if you backhanded somebody and you really, really damaged them, it might cause the person to reflect and to see what it is that they have done. And so, anyways, and in a lot of that social justice, I don't know that I really explain that and how it does relate to this. It does relate, but it's in that act that, in this sense, in that gospel, in the social justice aspect of it, is that societal change occurs through nonviolent action. It occurs through offering yourself up as that sacrifice, or offering yourself up as to not do what seems natural to do, not to viciously attack those who attack you, but to act in a different manner. And so, in being that is that call for transformation. It's that call for transformation, to be transformed, or that to be transformed from death into a new life, from death into a new life. And that one of the ways that you can gain a higher, let's say, if we use a new age language, a higher vibration within yourself, it is by undergoing that transformation. And going through that transformation requires self-reflection. And that self-reflection is in being able to see yourself in other people, and to see that there really isn't much difference between you and another person. And I'm going to just read through that one more time. That is Luke 6:27 through 38. Jesus said to his disciples, "To you who hear me, I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you, and pray for those who maltreat you. When someone slaps you on the cheek, turn and give him the other. When someone takes your coat, let him have your shirt as well. Give to all who beg from you. When a man takes what is yours, do not demand it back. Do it do to others what you would have them do to you. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love your enemies and do good. Lend without respecting repayment, and so forth. Judge as you wish to judge. Pardon. Forgive people who wrong you. Forgive people. Have an attitude of forgiveness and this attitude of love. And so I will close out here with just, let's look at saying 69 in the Gospel of Thomas. Jesus said, "Blessed are those who have been persecuted in their hearts. They truly know the Father. Blessed are those who are hungry, for the stomach of the famished will be filled." Jesus said, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not have that within you, what you do not have within you will kill you." Jesus said, "I shall destroy this house, and no one will be able to rebuild it." A person said to him, "Tell my relatives to divide my father's..." Well, okay, well, let's skip that. That's kind of not related. So it's that this transformative experience, it does come from what is within you, is that spirit that existed before the body existed. And Jesus says, "I am the light that is over all things. I am the all. All came forth from me, and all attained to me. Split a piece of wood, and I am there. Pick up a stone, and you will find me there. I am everywhere, and I am in all things." In saying 76, "Why have you come to the countryside to see grass blown by the wind, and to see a person dressed in rich clothing? Like your rulers, your aristocrats, they are dressed in rich clothing, but they cannot understand truth. Blessed are the womb that bore you, and the breast that fed you." He said to her, "Blessed are those who have heard the word of the Father and have truly kept it. For the time will come when they will say, 'Blessed are the womb that has not conceived, and the breasts that have not produced any milk.'" That's interesting when he talks about just the wealthy, that they do not understand. But there is and I guess I'm going to close out with this. And it's related to what is in your enemy is within you. And in our world today, in class struggles and everything, those folks that you may see as your enemy in the upper classes, they are people just like you and I are. But there is something that happens to people when they become extremely wealthy. Anthony Scaramucci talked a little bit about this in one of his podcasts, about how what happens to people when they get wealthy, and that they become extremely isolated, and they become distrustful of others. And then they may even come to a point where they see others as like parasites. They see their everyone else that is, because they want something from me. They want something from me. They want a handout. And I don't want to give anything that I have that is mine. I don't want to give anything that I have as mine. I don't want to give what was given to me. And so, in a sense, that you become in this silo, and you You build walls around yourself. You build a castle around yourself. And as you gain wealth, as you gain material possessions, the more material possessions you gain, the thicker the walls you build around yourself. Then eventually you come into a place where you cannot feel at all. And you cannot feel at all. But that person was once exactly like you at one time. That you may see them as your enemy, but in actuality, their emotions are the same as yours. And that self-reflection of seeing yourself in your enemy, and that is very important. Is a very important spiritual exercise to do that. So you can have that transformative experience, and so you can transform from what is dead to what is alive, from transform yourself from the earth to the sky. And so I think that's all I have for today. And I was going to keep this down under an hour, and I'm at almost 32 minutes in, and I hope that I was clear in this after church chat. I talked a bit about the Gospel of Thomas, and I talked a little bit about the Gospel of Luke, as was in the seventh Sunday of Ordinary Time. That's coming from my Catholic Missal. And so I'm kind of following along, even though I haven't really actually stepped foot in a Catholic church in like 5 years now. And anyway, that's all I have for this week. I'm going to come back and do on Tuesday night. I think Tuesday night I'm going to do this. I'm going to paint this in watercolors. This is the Hanged Man. I don't know who my next Coloring the Tarot guest was. If you saw last night's Coloring the Tarot with Moon Scarab, I welcome you to watch that. That was a very good and illuminating program. And if you are interested in coming on my show, Coloring the Tarot, please email me and let me write my email address down. And so if you are, I'm going to write it down. It is the999SHOW Gmail. So this is my show's email address. It's the999SHOW at email. And so if you have actually received one of those emails and has gone right into your spam folder, that's because that is my show email address, and because I have invited quite a few people to come, but I wanted to extend an invitation. Hi Elizabeth, you came right about at the end, and so I was looking for someone maybe this week, maybe Friday, maybe next Saturday. And if you're on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast, you can. I'm flexible with the times. There are some times that I have that I'm cooking dinner for people, and that time's kind of closed. But I am flexible to a certain degree. So email me if you're interested in being a guest on Coloring the Tarot. And I will be back. I might do a pop-up live tonight. I'm not sure. We will see. But nevertheless, I will be back on Tuesday evening, and we will be painting the Hanged Man. Painting the Hanged Man in the evening, probably around 9 p.m. Maybe a little earlier. And then I am going to be on the More Intuitive Me show tomorrow, 2 p.m. Pacific, where I will be doing divination with my good friend Elizabeth at the More Intuitive Me. And so, with that, I will leave you all. Blessings and peace to you. Blessings and peace to you. And thank you very much for tuning in. Until the next time, bye-bye.